In this video I'm checking out the Minilab 3 compact MIDI controller keyboard from Arturia. We're going to see what's improved from the Mark II version and what are the pros and the cons of this controller, and also I'm gonna show you how it integrates with Ableton Live. And also I'd like to say thank you to Arturia for sending this controller free of charge. That is highly appreciated, but as always you're gonna get an unbiased review from me. So let's get right into it. Minilab 3 is a great improvement over the second version that I reviewed a couple of years ago. It is considerably lighter, but retains the excellent build quality, which is great for portability, and this is obviously a primary consideration when buying such a small keyboard. The 25 keys are the same as the previous version. They feel really good, probably better than most mini keys on the market, except for the Complete Control M32 and the Yamaha Reface series of synths, which are slightly better in my opinion. But these are still excellent keys with a great feel, and they aren't as small and don't feel as cramped as some other mini keyboards. The added display is a nice touch that helps with navigating and generally seeing what's going on in the controller. It also has 8 endless encoders and 4 faders. They feel really good, and they map automatically to controls in your DAW and to parameters in Arturia's virtual instruments. The 8 pads here, they have an okay feel and response. They aren't bad, but the keys are actually pretty good for finger drumming as well, as they don't have much travel and you have more notes at your disposal. Generally the pads require a bit more force than the keys to get full velocity, so I kind of prefer drumming on the keys, but the pads have different velocity settings that you can customize in Arturia's MIDI control center, so setting them to the logarithmic velocity curve improves the response a bit, but I just wish they were a bit more sensitive. And also there's a fixed velocity for the pads, and as far as the keys go, these were a bit too sensitive, so I set them to the exponential velocity curve. But they were still reaching high velocity values a bit too easily. But then again, these sort of keys are not the type of keys that you would use for complex piano passages. Nevertheless, I hope that a future firmware update would bring an improvement to the sensitivity of the pads and the keys. And the Minilab Mark III also adds a standard 5-pin DIN MIDI out port for controlling and playing external synths, which is a really nice touch, and I like the fact that it's not one of those mini jack MIDI out ports that require the adapters to connect them to a 5-pin MIDI. Okay, so we're in Ableton Live now, and we got 2 modes. By holding Shift and pressing the prog button, we switch between Arturia mode, where we're controlling the Analog Lab V. The keyboard comes with the intro version of this plugin. I'm using the full version here, but it should work in the exact same way. It just has less presets. And if you press prog, once again you get into DAW mode, which controls your Ableton session in this case. And you can check out Arturia's website to see which other DAWs are supported. When it comes to controlling devices in Live, the 8 encoders are automatically mapped to the selected device as indicated by the blue hand on the device that you can see on the screen. Fader 1 controls the volume of the selected track, Fader 2 is send A, Fader 3 is send B, and Fader 4 is the panning of the selected track. By holding the Shift button and rotating the main encoder, you are scrolling between tracks and you are selecting different tracks in your Ableton session. If you're not holding the Shift button, you're changing the scenes in your session view, and you can trigger clips using the pads. Talking about the pads, pressing Shift plus pad toggles between bank A and bank B for the pads. In bank A, you can trigger the clips in your Ableton session, and the pads correspond to whatever clips you have in this scene in Ableton. And so this one lights up red to indicate that the track is record enabled. And the other shift functions are play, stop, and record, and loop, enable, and disable. Again, holding the Shift button enables these features inside Ableton Live. So if you scroll down to the drum rack that we have on track 1, you can press down on the encoder and record enable this track. So record enabling works by pressing down on the encoder. So let's record some drums here. So I'm gonna go to my Arturia Analog Lab. I've loaded a couple of instances of the Analog Lab, and so I'm gonna change to Arturia mode. So by holding Shift and rotating the main encoder in this mode, I can switch between different types of presets. So let's choose a bass preset. And as you can see, you can scroll through the presets, and by clicking on the encoder you can load the presets. And you can also use the macros to control the Analog Lab V software. As you can see, the layout matches with the layout on the screen. Let's go to another track. Again, I need to switch to the DAW mode. Let's go to track number 6 and select a lead sound. Some other features available with the Shift button are the ARP, Shift plus Pad 1 activates an arpeggiator, fully customizable by the way. You can set every parameter from the knobs of this arpeggiator, and you also got this chord memory that you hold Shift plus chord mode on, and you can now play a chord. And now this chord can be played with only one key, it's remembered in the keyboard. So what are the pros and the cons of the Minilab 3? Starting with the pros, it's a significant improvement from the previous version. It has a comprehensive set of controls, it's lightweight, but at the same time it has excellent build quality. The keypad feel is pretty good. It has a standard 5-pin MIDI DIN out that you can use for external equipment. And one nice feature for iPad users, even if you got one of the Lightning ports iPads, it can still be powered by this iPad without using a powered hub or any additional power. So this is a really great feature if you are going to be using it in a portable iPad setup. Arturia also claims this is the world's first eco-designed MIDI controller containing at least 50% recycled plastic, which is better for the environment. But then there are the cons of the Minilab 3. The first one for me are the lack of wheels. The pitch bend especially, I would definitely prefer a wheel for this. The pitch touch strip is not as expressive as a wheel. Again, a matter of personal preference. You may not be bothered by this at all. Also, this horizontal pad layout isn't really the best for finger drumming, and also the fact that the pads double as the DAW control makes the DAW control kind of harder to access, as opposed to having dedicated buttons for this. And again, speaking about the DAW control, I would have loved to have some features like undo, turning metronome off and on, and maybe even quantize as we have on the complete control keyboards, as this would make for a more complete workflow when recording MIDI from the keyboard and not having to touch the mouse for these essential features. So to summarize, would I recommend the Arturia Minilab 3? If you're looking for a portable 25-key keyboard, it's a pretty good option. I love the fact that the keys aren't too small, even though they are mini keys. It looks great. It's a bit larger overall than, for the example, the Akai MPK Mini or the Novation Launch Key Mini, but it definitely fits in a backpack without any problem, so I think the bigger size makes it more comfortable to use and it doesn't really make it less portable. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.